Hi, everybody. So Kelly and I are here together, and we're going to talk about the new moon today. Mostly Kelly's going to talk about it. And I just wanted to bring up the energies are quite wild. They were extremely wild yesterday. They're very wild today. A lot of people didn't sleep very well. So keep that in mind. There's a lot going on, and this is the big push to get information out and to basically clean up all the nastiness that has been going on and to get it out in the open. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'm sure Kelly has a lot to say about how that's going to look.
Mm.
I'm quite excited though. I mean, let's just rip the band-aid off and get it over with. So it's time just to move through it, I think. So anyway, how are you, Kelly?
I'm doing okay. I had a very intense week last week. I'm not the only one.
Mm-mm.
But I'm a little easier this week, but I've had all sorts of tech problems and and we've all got our version of whatever. So but I'm doing pretty well because I decided last week I could either get a little like stressed out or I could lean into it. And I decided to lean into it, and it was good. It was good. So
Good.
anyway. And yes, new moon coming up. And this is going to be a very interesting moon cycle because the full moon of this new moon is going to be a total lunar eclipse. So we're going into the eclipse zone, and it's going to be a wild ride for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Into April. So anyway, new moon in Pisces. So
Wild till April.
yeah, yes. So we just got finished with Mars being retrograde. We've talked about that for a while because Mars was retrograde mostly in Cancer for an extended period of time. So we were talking about self-care a lot. We were talking about just taking it easy, going inside, feeling things through. What is it that you really want? Where's your energy at? And Mars just turned forward a few days ago, Sunday. So that was on the 23rd. And so that was just happened. And when a planet turns around, it slows down, and it's sort of right there for a while before it picks up speed to move forward. So we're still, kind of feeling a bit of a pause. The energy has shifted forward, but it's slow. So it's like, don't jump into anything, just take it easy, see how you're feeling, and kind of, keep taking care of yourself and stay, in as much of a calm space as you can have, so that's, and as much as you can sustain that, that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. So Cancer is a water sign, and this new moon's in Pisces, which is another water sign. And so the planets, a lot of them are like kind of gathering together in Pisces, and then a bunch of them are going to move into Aries. And then some of them are going to move back into Pisces, and then they're going to move back into Aries. So it's a very interesting time between the last sign of the zodiac and the first sign of the zodiac.
Wow.
So it's like the waves are taking sandcastles off the beach.
Very cool. Yeah.
And then the new waves are coming in with a lot of sparkles on the, sunlight on the sea. So, but it's stormier than it might sound from the way I just said it.
Yes. We are ready for sparkles though.
Yeah, we are sure ready for sparkles, and the sparkles are really coming through. So we're going to look at the new moon chart, and I'm going to add a couple of Kuiper Belt objects in that are right invested in this
Mm.
particular shift we're in. So let me start sharing my screen. Got to find the right thing. Okay, here we go. And this is you're going to see the new moon chart first. I hope. There. Oh no, wrong one. Oh well, this is pertinent, however. This is pertinent. Cosmic mermaids. You know, so this is very Piscean, but it's not quite what I was looking for. So let me stop that one. Goodness sakes. Let me try again. Recent. Okay, I know what I did. I'm using my iPad instead of my computer because I had a computer sort of meltdown. Here is the new moon chart. So it's Pisces. And you can see, you know, right where I have the indication of the sun and the moon there at 9 degrees Pisces, or 9, it's 10, it's almost 10. So I brought the Sabian symbol in because I thought this was a really interesting one, because Pisces is the sign of the sea. It's the sign of the two fish, and they're going in different directions, which says a lot about the wave going out and the wave coming in. But we've got the dwarf planet Ceres right next to the new moon that is a Gaia earth energy, and it's the waters of the earth. So that's important. And then we're going to look at this cluster up there that has, well, I'll point it out better later, but there's Saturn and Mercury and the North Node and Neptune, all in Pisces. This is a lot of things in one sign. So it's Pisces. And the 10 degrees Pisces, the Sabian symbol that is going to give us some clues about what this moon cycle is about, is an aviator in the clouds. So of course the clouds rain, and you know, but it's interesting that where it's about this being in the sky when we got a new moon that is about the sea and so much about the water. So I use Linda Hill's Sabian symbols as an oracle, and here's what she says about this symbol, an aviator in the clouds, which I think is very pertinent. There is a need to transcend difficulties. Just be aware that you may not be seeing the complete picture very clearly at the moment. You may find that you are able to rely on your intellectual skills to take you above and beyond your current situation, or you may just be evading the real truth. Either way, enjoy the journey, sailing through difficulties. So anyway, that does seem to epitomize we think of Pisces as being very compassionate and forgiving and sweet and kind. And that's, you know, some of its high side. But it's ruled by Neptune, who's the god of the sea, and he has this trident that he holds, and he can stir the sea up and whip it into a storm. So there's some stormy weather here. And I'm sure, you know, depending on where on the earth you are, you would agree with that. So anyway, so let's talk more about Pisces, because we're totally in the zone here. And I'm going to have to like scroll up. So this is, do you see the two fish? One is on the back of the woman, that's Andromeda. And then the two fish are tied together by what looks like a starry ribbon. And the other fish is heading out toward the side. So they're the two fish, and that's how they're depicted in the sky in the constellation. And right beneath the sideways fish is Pegasus, the flying horse. So it's a very interesting place in the sky, but I've always found it fascinating that the fish are tied together. And one of the stories about that is that Venus and her son Eros, or Cupid, were being chased by a monster. and they jumped into the sea. And before they did that, she tied them together so they wouldn't lose each other in the sea currents. And so they're tied together there, the two fish. And so it's not like they can really be separated. There's a kind of unity that we could think on another level, is the unity of heaven and earth, is our divinity and our earthly selves, that they're never separated. They're tied together by the silver cord or whatever it is. But Pisces can definitely have two sides to it. And one can be, I'm drowning in the water, help me. And one can be, I'm sailing, it's a golden ride I'm on, and the wind is blowing in the right direction. So in part, you can choose your direction here. Are you going to go with the fear and anxiety that can come from a level of chaos and confusion that it certainly feels like we're in? Or are you going to rise above that, be an aviator in the clouds and kind of look down and say, yeah, choppy waters, but I'm doing okay because I'm in a high vibe. So there's some of that going on here.
Yeah, that feels right. We are definitely going to see a lot of things that are not high vibe over, the next few weeks. And, that could go on for a long time, but it won't be so in your face, I think. But it's really important to maintain your vibe during that time and not pay too much attention to it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Choose how much you can engage without getting upset or getting overloaded, kind of thing. It's more important to keep your vibration high, I think of it as holding on to your spiritual anchor, than it is to keep up with every little thing that's going on, So another version of the fish here, I love this reflecting fish tanks picture. So Pisces is a water sign. It's about the sea. It's ruled by Neptune, who's the god of the sea. And we are leaving the age of Pisces right now and entering the age of Aquarius. That's going backwards in the zodiac, and that's how the ages go. They seem to go backwards through the zodiac. But on another level, we have a lot of Pisces going on right now, but the planets are moving into Aries, the next sign, which is different. So here we have the sensitive, dreamy, spacey parts of Pisces, which can be compassionate and sweet and forgiving and mystical. But the downside is when we're in a level of confusion or illusion or delusion. And it can be prone to addictions because Pisces is so sensitive and feels the suffering of the world, and it's like, I can't handle it. So sometimes we look for ways to escape. And so sometimes that can be through sleeping, through sometimes our bodies make us take a break. And another part of the Pisces can be the sense of being a victim. And part of moving into Aries is, no, you take charge. You be you take charge. So that's also part of the transition we're going into from Pisces into Aries, which is kind of like, in Pisces, we're like part of the ocean. But we are a drop in the ocean, and Aries wants to know what that drop is. Be clear about your drop.
Yes.
You're part of part of what's going on, but what is your clarity of self and your specific life purpose and energy as you? So, Pisces can be moody, it can be escapist, it can get into fantasy. It's also about the trends of the time, with the imagery, and it's very artistic often, more like movies and like photography, and just it's very impressionable, and it will merge and kind of go with the flow. So you want to be careful what flow you're jumping into. And it can be very psychic as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at it on a more universal level, there's the unified field, there's the holographic universe that we are part of, and we are getting more tuned into that. And again, what are you, I don't know if I want to say choosing exactly, but how are you being in that field, not being engulfed by it, or not being saturated by it, but finding your lane, finding your flow, finding your clarity, which Aries is about. But this new moon is about being in these waters, and finding the flow, and finding something about the incoming wave, and letting the other waves pass by you. So you're not engulfed, you're not, kind of being thrashing around in the undertow, that you're on your surfboard and you're riding the waves, we could say.
Yeah.
So back to the new moon chart. And here are the other things we have. We have so much in Pisces. So I want to point out one, so we've got Saturn. So Saturn here's one of the lessons we're learning right now. We're learning how to navigate the flow. We're learning, where is your surfboard? Where is your vehicle? How are you shaping yourself as in the clarity of you? And we've got Mercury there. So Mercury is the information. Mercury is all the stuff coming out that Saturn says, hey, look at this. This is reality. Here's what's happening. Here's the news. And it's like, it can feel like, wow, whew, how much can we handle? And that is the leading edge of consciousness right now. That's the North Node. The North Node is the leading edge of growth and evolution in the collective consciousness. So we're needing to tune in to the subtleties and the vibrational frequencies that are of the higher mind, so we can handle things better and not be, again, kind of pulled into the undertow. Now, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and it's getting ready to change sign. And that's part of the big deal of what's happening this year. So it is the spirituality, is the high side of Neptune. And so we're being called to tune in to the spiritual wavelengths, and take care of your body along the way. Because we have a lot of light coming into our system, and we're needing to integrate that in some way. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on, but it's hard to know what is reality. It's very fluid. We don't know who to listen to, who to believe, and that's part of the test of these times. What do you believe is going on? And if you, and this is why we need times out to touch base with our spiritual center, so we are more clear about what's vibing true for us and what is not.
Yeah. And then when you get into your own vibe and you know what it is, then pay attention to the things that work for your vibe instead of the things that drag on it.
Yes, exactly. Because Neptune can have a bit of an anxiety complex. It can get anxious because it's like, what's my stuff and what's other stuff, so it's like filtering out what doesn't resonate. And so that's part of it too.
Really important.
Yeah. Now there's another thing I put in here, and this is Teharonhiawako. So This is one of the Kuiper Belt objects that I've been talking about a lot lately because it's totally invested in this situation.
Mhm.
And it's going to be invested in the eclipses for this year. So Teharonhiawako is an Iroquois creator god who's descended from the star people. His mother was Star Woman or Sky Woman, and he came from the world before. A lot of Native peoples talk about the world before and the world before that, and we are entering a new world. So Teharonhiawako knows that kind of thing. He knows the new world. And when he was born, his mother got thrown down through the hole in the sky from the world before. And a lot of good stuff came down with her and ended up in the ethers. And Teharonhiawako had a spiritual sight where he could see that, and he would create what had been from the previous world that was good. And so he would bring plants, he would bring animals, and he would bring humans. And he had the breath of spirit that he would blow into the humans to animate them with divine influence. He had an evil twin brother, Sawiskara, who was very jealous because he did not have that divine spark and he did not have that creative vision. So he would always try to undermine. And they were called, Teharonhiawako was called good mind, and Sawiskara was called bad mind. And so here's part of the influences that we're under right now. What are the good influences and what are the bad influences that are undermining our sense of spirituality and divinity? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of those negative influences that have been around. And so when Teharonhiawako, he would teach the humans, he taught them how to plant crops, and he taught them how to follow the cycles and rhythms of nature and have ceremonies at certain times, how to follow the seasons by naming the moons, the strawberry moon, the snow moon, the beaver moon, to acknowledge the seasonal shifts, and to live by them. Mm-hmm. So he taught the humans all of this. He did so many things. He, helped them divide into family clans and to live on the land. And then he went back to the sky for a while. And Sawiskara kind of started, kind of whispering in the ears of some of the people and some of the youth, so they wouldn't listen to their elders anymore, and they wouldn't follow the ceremonies, and they started, taking drugs, and they started doing bad stuff, and they started fighting, and then it got pretty bad. So Teharonhiawako came back again. I hope you're taking some time to read over here some of the themes that Teharonhiawako has to offer. Mm-hmm. This, what typically is indigenous, real deep rapport with the land and with the native peoples and the traditional ways, but also the memory of cosmic realms and coming from the sky and connecting heaven and earth like the rainbow does. Mm-hmm. So Sawiskara had this jealousy and this kind of level of cruelty that went against the grain, so to speak, went against nature. And at a certain time, things were getting very bad among the different nations of the Iroquois peoples. And they started fighting amongst each other. And so Teharonhiawako came back as the peacemaker. Mm. And there are different places you can read about the peacemaker. The Return of the Bird Tribes has that. I don't know if we've talked about this quite in such detail before. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Teharonhiawako, in one of our moon lunation, videos, but um, the so when he came back, and this is part of the story of Hiawatha, that's a famous story from the Iroquois people who live basically in the Northeast and heading west a bit and across into Canada. It's made of originally 5 and eventually 6 nations. And when they started warring among themselves, the peacemaker would walk through and visit each nation and the different peoples, walking through the land with Hiawatha. And he would convince the leaders of the 5 nations to literally bury the hatchet in a kind of ceremonial way, that they weren't going to fight anymore. So he brought peace back. And I love this theme of the peacemaker for the times that we're living in. And I think this is very aligned with what's happening now with all the fighting and with all the differences and the divisions, and that there is a kind of peacemaking, kind of bringing back the unity among the peoples that is happening in this specific time when Teharonhiawako is so invested in the lunations, this February 27th new moon, but onward through the next full moon, and even through this whole year, is very invested. It's a very slow moving celestial object. So there's this beautiful, kind of return to seasonal celebration and honoring the divine in all of life and also in each other. So there's this beautiful, the best of Pisces kind of thing, that we are all in this together. Mm-hmm. So I just want to, share this not very well known Kuiper Belt object, because this peacemaking and the great law of peace, which was decided among the people. And they get together and they will have like a week or 2 when they are telling the stories of the people, and they're doing the Thanksgiving prayer that will take 2 or 3 days to thank every living creature on the earth. And there's some very beautiful traditions among the Iroquois people here. And the great law of peace that they all agreed to was an inspiration for the founders of the American Revolution and the United States for the Constitution of this country. So it's a beautiful tradition to know that we're tapping into now in some way here. Mm-hmm. So
I love
any
that.
comments on that, honey?
Well, I was talking about the Hopi prophecy this morning, and I feel like every group has had some sort of prophecy or awareness of these times. And it's great that he's actually here in these times, like he's shown up to lend his energy, because everything is a being that's up there in the sky.
Yes, and I love that perspective you have. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's really gorgeous, and just remembering that we're all in it together and we have a lot of help. We don't always think that. We think we're alone and suffering or whatever, but that's not really the truth. And you can see that just from, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but you can see that from his good side versus his shadow.
Yeah.
And all the shadows are being healed right now. So his shadow, or his brother, is in the process of healing and coming home to him.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and also being exposed to some extent too.
Yeah. So it's huge. We're in a huge time right now. Yeah. And I think sometimes we just get stuck in our own suffering a little bit because it's really overwhelming part of the time. But if we can just step out of it and not get quite so sucked in, or at least take moments where we can pull out of that, whatever's going on with us, then it's really good because we can see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I used to say Teharonhiawako, and then I heard an astronomy teacher from one of the 5 nations say the name, and they don't pronounce all of the consonants as we would. So it's Teharonhiawako.
Yeah.
Teharonhiawako, basically Teharonhiawako. It's
Okay.
almost, you can't hear
Teharonhiawako.
every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was gonna pronounce it all.
I know my tongue still trips over it, obviously.
I was like, okay, that's overwhelming.
So more Pisces. So here we go with the moon again, and I want to point out Ceres here is right with the new moon, and Ceres is Demeter, Ceres is Gaia, Ceres is the earth energy, and I did mention that earlier. In Pisces, she's going to mean the waters of the earth, and this is part of her wanting to she it's like she gathers all life under her skirt, under her, for well-being and the common good and well-being of all. And if somebody's being left out, she will advocate for that energy. And people who have a strong Ceres, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for instance, has a very strong Ceres, and he's advocating for health and wellness, for the health of the soil and the people and the animals. So, he's definitely being called in here.
Yeah.
So, another of the, is that it? Oh, so another of the things to mention here that is before the full moon on March 14th, we see, and I already said that Mars is going forward now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's slow, it's not, Mars likes to go fast sometimes, but not in Cancer. not when we're still needing to feel things out, and we're still feeling a little tender and vulnerable. So Venus is in Aries. Venus is right over there at 10 degrees Aries, right above the 3 o'clock line there. Mm-hmm. And Venus is about to go retrograde, which means she's in the evening sky, and she is just about as far from the sun as she can get, and she needs to turn around back toward the sun. So we see her very bright in the evening sky. But she's going to be lowering, going back toward the sun, and she'll be setting with the sun, and we'll lose Venus for a couple of weeks. And during that time, she's as close to the earth as she gets, and she'll be in front of the sun, between the earth and the sun. And this is a special time called the Venus star point, where she's starting a new cycle. And then a week or so later, we see her rise in the morning sky. So she's transitioning from being an evening star to a morning star. And when she goes retrograde, Salacia, the mermaid who makes the sunlight sparkle on the sea, is right there with her. Oh. So this is the sparkling, shimmering energy. And Venus says, yes, I love this. I want to be happy. And there's this aspect of the divine feminine. We've talked about Salacia quite a bit. I thought I put a slide in, but I guess not. Oh. I guess not.
Yeah.
No.
She's amazing.
So anyway, just imagine like these waves of shimmering light coming into our system, which has been true for a while. The sun ramps them up sometimes when we get solar flares, etc. But this is a kind of galactic phenomenon of where we are in the galaxy right now. So Venus is going retrograde right with that shimmering energy coming in. Mm-hmm. And Venus says, I want you to be happy, like, delighted with life, joyful. Venus is about beauty and art and aesthetics and abundance. And it's like, let's bring it in.
Yeah.
So Venus is asking us to reevaluate. How happy are you? You can be happier, and you're going to be happier if you get more clear with what makes you happy. So this is about reevaluating. Now, Venus will go retrograde 5 times every 8 years. And in these 5 times, she goes retrograde in the same places. So if Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees where she is now, she's slowing down. Selassie is right there. Venus is just having a glorious time. This is like these pictures of Lakshmi, the beautiful goddess in Hindu culture, where all these gold coins are just falling. She's being, just engulfed in beauty and abundance and shimmering, and the elephants are spraying water over her to bless her, and she's just gorgeous. And so if we look back to 2017, the same time of year, March and April, Venus would have been retrograde 8 years ago. Okay. And if we take it back further, and I'm just going to say this, just if you want to kind of check in with yourself. So it would have been 2017, 2009, 2001, 1993, that was a big one, 1985, 1977, and back every 8 years. Venus is retrograde in the same place, wherever that is in your chart. She's saying you can be happier here. Mm-hmm. And how can we make this better? So there might be themes that follow along that you might be able to identify. The last time that happened for me was 2017, and I had a computer crash, and I had to go get a new computer. And guess what just happened? My computer crashed, and I had to get a new computer. So that's not what I would have chosen, but it was time for the new. And that's what Aries is about, something fresh and new and improvements, that makes life better for you. Mm-hmm. So wherever that is happening in your chart. And it's retrograde for 40 days and 40 nights. And it goes back into Pisces. And then it goes back into Aries. And so that's happening March 1st. And she doesn't turn forward until Venus turns forward on April 12th. And she's in Pisces then, and then she goes back into Aries. So we're still doing this riding the waves thing, getting more clear and clear and clear. Now, Mercury, we'll talk more about this next time, because the day after the full moon on March 14th, that's a total lunar eclipse, the first of 2 we'll have this year. The day after that, on March 15th, Mercury goes retrograde, right where Venus went retrograde, 8 or 9, with Selassie shimmering around Mercury. So we're having Venus and Mercury. So this is our heart and our head. This is our how we're feeling and our emotionality. And this is like, feel as good as you can feel. And if you're not feeling good, let's raise the vibe here. And Mercury is like rethinking, like, that's not a good way to think. I want to get into a more positive mindset. So shimmering, the light of Selassie is coming in mentally to affect us and to tune into good energy and positive forward movement, because Aries is about blazing a new trail. We are not going back unless you want to ride the wave backwards. But basically, this is so encouraging us to move forward. checking back in, letting the wave take out whatever is no longer working well in your life. That's emotionally and mentally. And then back to the Aries, back to the newness. So we're going to have a lot more to talk about for that total lunar eclipse on March 14th. And then what happens after that? It is a wild month coming up. Even just what we've talked about today with the new moon leading to a total lunar eclipse, Mercury and Venus going retrograde at the same place at the same time with Celestia just raising the light frequency. And at the end of March, Neptune goes from Pisces into Aries. So this is just, there's just this incredible celestial choreography going on for the next couple of months.
Wow.
So we've just got to start on it today. But you know, and we're in the sea right now. We're navigating through somewhat choppy waters, and find your lane, find your current, find the current you want to be flowing in. And we each have to do that for ourselves, because it's going to be a slightly different vibe for each of us. And we have to find our own way of moving forward, you know, in our own integrity. And that's part of the beautiful best side of Aries, is kind of like a personal integrity, because only you are you. Mm-hmm. So as we are clarifying the drop we are in the ocean, we are going to be able to radiate more light and allow that sunlight to sparkle on the sea in our collective journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this feels really good. It's like we are riding the waves, and we are going under every once in a while. And the ocean I see as consciousness, like the group consciousness.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. So if you're dipping under, if your head's going under once in a while, just, you know that you can pop back up, know that you can ride that wave, you can get into a raft, you can get onto a surfboard. Allow yourself to float as much as possible versus trying to swim.
Yeah, and that's like the aviator in the clouds. You know, turn your face up and look at the sky. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, whales and dolphins, right? They're in the water and they come up, and they they let off that water, and they take in a new breath and dive down again. So if you have to hold your breath, don't overdo it. You know?
Yeah,
I used to love to hold my breath and swim underwater for a while.
Mm-hmm. I never got into that, but I love the ocean. I love to be, in the waves, as long as they're not too crazy. And I think floating is something that we haven't been very good at in the past as a soul group, humanity as a soul group. And we're learning how to do it. We're learning how to ride the wave without getting sucked under. And it's really good right now. So we're making it through all this, even though it feels a little overwhelming.
Well, floating, just relax, because when you're going to naturally float.
Yep. And quit trying to control everything. If you're having like big things going on in your life, doing your best, but don't try and control every bit of it, because that just wears you out. And it's not helping, because you're not riding the wave and you're not allowing for it to just work itself out as well.
Yeah. Don't exhaust your body. Give your body a lot of help. That's where the south node of the moon is. That's going to help. That's going to be a foundational support for navigating the waters.
Yes.
And also, this is a lot about resting when you need to rest. It's about giving yourself plenty of dream time, sleep time, even if you're not able to sleep well, just rest and see, how you're processing things, and, you know, keep affirmations or mantras or prayers or whatever it is to keep that vibe high. Even, sometimes I just give up. Okay, well, I'm not sleeping. I'll just get up and, you know, just just give myself a break, and
Yeah.
then, go and just let my body just relax,
Hmm.
even if I'm not sleeping after
Yeah.
that.
That's so true. Like, don't force yourself into anything, even sleep. Because if you lay there forever and you're like, I have to go to sleep, I have to go to sleep, then it's just not working. So get
Yeah.
up for 20 minutes and then maybe you'll be ready.
And you've said that before, honey, that we're going to probably get into this thing where we're not sleeping as much, that we'll sleep for a couple of hours and then we'll wake up, and then we just need to monitor how we're doing that, resting.
Hmm.
And even if we're resting in a place where our bodies are just really relaxed, and help our minds relax in a way that we're not, trying to overthink,
Hmm.
and just feel yourself breathe, feel your heart beating, you're still here.
Yes. We're all here. We're all making it. It may feel really rough at times, but we're about to see the worst and the best. And we're going to build on the best and we're going to let go of the worst, because that's basically all the grease, all the dust bunnies in the corners, all the things that you haven't been wanting to look at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of that's going to come to the surface, but a lot of it we have looked at, and it's not as much for us as it is for the newly awakening. And just let them go through the process and we will go and build the new stuff.
And this is a lot about awakening. Aries is like
Hmm.
awakening out of some of the toxicity of the dream that
Yeah.
we've collectively been holding,
Hmm.
not knowing that we're doing that even.
Right.
And so the wave is just moving a lot of stuff out, and there's flooding all over the world. And part of it is just, kind of let the waters, flow under what is it? The bridge over troubled waters kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
going from across that bridge.
Hmm. And we're
Yeah.
doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just look forward to the good things as they come in, watch for the good things, and maybe you'll see a little bad, not so great stuff, but remember that we're transmuting it and it's not actually happening anymore. We're just cleaning up the
Uh,
residue.
and one of the things when Venus is retrograde, remember to be grateful for even the small good things in your life, the beauty around you, the gratitude and the
Mhm.
thankfulness. You know, um, that's a key to the positive Venus energy.
Yeah.
And we want to be feeling that all right. We want to be welcoming in all the goodness.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well said, Kelley. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yes. And I have Kelley's information below. So she is doing appointments still, maybe not as many
yeah,
as last
I'm
week.
I'm slowing down.
Yeah.
I'm slowing down after a very busy period.
Hmm.
And I'm doing, more videos and teaching, and I've got a book I'm finishing, and I'm going to move into more teaching about the new quantum Kuiper belt
Oh,
energies.
fun.
So,
I love it.
yeah, that's my spring plan, and
Yay.
that's my, my trajectory in the currents, and heading into the new season. And it's going to it's going to ease up. It's going to feel so much better by June. And I'm not saying it won't feel better before then, but that's one of the major changes of the year is in June when the planet Jupiter goes into Cancer, and it's going to be, oh, we're going to be so glad. It's going to feel so much better by then, a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And humanity is like, basically, in order to change, usually we have to get really uncomfortable. So we've been in that for a really long time. We've been in that, and it's felt acute at times, probably over the last few months, like very acute. And it looks like it's going to go forward that way, but I don't feel like it's going to be quite as acute as it has been. It's going to start to ease up, but there's also going to be this flood of information that's pretty gross. So don't engage with people that are just awakening either. Let them wake up on their own, and just, they may come at you and say, why didn't you insist that I knew this, or something, and just say, you make your own choices. Let them figure it out as they go, and be kind to them as much as you can, but also don't push them too much either, unless they're really ready to hear something and they're asking you.
Well, we need to take care of ourselves. It's like a water lily. A water lily has its roots in the mud. And this goes with Mars being in Cancer, and we just got, the retrograde turned around, but still, if the waters are getting choppy and it's getting stormy, the water lily closes up and goes back down. It's like, okay, I'm going back down. I'm going back in. I'm withdrawing for a while, as long as, you need to kind of find your comfort level and take care of yourself and find your calm. And then you can, kind of come out when the sunlight is shining on the water again.
I love that. Yeah, and put your oxygen mask on first before anybody else's. Seriously. That's what the water lily is doing. They're like, well, go down, hide out a little while, and the sun will be shining tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we forget that. It's not going to be like this forever.
No.
The season will change. Yeah.
Yep. More and more beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelley.
This was good to see you again. Yes. I know we missed the last full moon, but we'll stay on it as much as we can. And there's slightly choppy seas.
We will. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.